Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Are the Operant Power with Gail and
Jane, hi. Hi,
hi,
Gail.
Jane. Hi. Um, I had some insights today, and I thought, oh, we gotta put a video on this because I think it's like one of the most important videos that we'll do, the most important discussion that we'll have, and it relates to making everything about you. And it the insight I had was not new, but it was kind of like one of those, oh my gosh, yes, it makes sense to me now. So we'll just talk about that, and people just keep an open mind about making it about you and what that means, because I think that's where um, there's maybe it's a little bit of a gray or foggy area about what exactly that means, making it about you. So in the discussions I was having earlier, um, or even just if you watch a lot of videos, especially around getting SPs back, special people back, right? That oftentimes the people that push the idea of affirmations will say, my SP loves spending time with me. My SP always texts me. My SP does this. My XP does that. My XP does that. And so that's kind of where their focus is. And really that's putting the focus outside opposed to within, right? Because my SP loves to spend time with me, and just kind of take a minute to feel how that would feel. And now take a minute to feel how I love spending time with my SP. There's a different feeling to that, right? Because one is very authentic and genuine. Your feeling is very authentic and genuine, whether it's sort of playing out in the outside world or not, you still have that feeling. Whereas the other one, when you're my SP loves to spend time with me, it's about them. And then it provides that opportunity for all, well, that's not what they said. That's not what they're doing. Look outside. It wants nothing to do with you. You're blocked on everything. Like, I don't know why you think that. And you have all of this conversation coming up around that focus. Whereas it's a lot less likely, if at all, if you're like, I love spending time with my SP. How, if you're focused on your feeling, like it's your feeling. What
Yes.
thoughts can come in and say, no, you don't feel like that. Like there's just no thoughts that will say that. There may be thoughts that say, well, yeah, sure, you love your SP, or you love spending time with your SP, but he just blocked you on all Facebook or whatever. But then the minute that you're looking at that, again, you're looking at the outside.
Yes.
You want to bring it back to yourself.
And it's also focused on what you don't want.
Well, it is, yeah. And so it's like, just bring it back to yourself. And another example I had, which is very simple and not related to SPs, but I thought it was pretty cool, with another conversation that I had. This friend of mine was, just driving along on the highway, and she was thinking about things. Her daughter wanted to write a book. And so I don't know if it was her daughter or her came up with the name for it, which was, I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to get into telling too much about people, but they thought of a certain name for it. And so as she's driving, she's thinking like, yeah, I really like that name. That's a really cool name. I think that really fits what the book is going to be about, right? And within seconds, she saw that word. It was just one word. She saw that word on a truck as she was driving. And I said,
Cool.
look at this, because that's obviously, you manifested that and you did it within seconds. Whereas she in the past has, had issues with manifesting things. And so we're always trying to figure out where are we looking? What are we not looking at? Where are we focused? And that sort of thing. And using the examples that we used before about either looking out or looking in, I really like that name. Like, that's a really cool name. I think that's really great. So that's the within feeling, as opposed to I wonder if people will like that. I wonder if that'll make people
Yes.
like, will that attract people to it, which is a very outside focus.
Yes.
And if she was to go that way with the outside focus, then there's so much that you can't control and so many little details you think you need to
Yes.
take care of. Or you could say, you know, everybody loves the book, or everybody loves the book title. But again, it's outside. And in this case, I mean, she just proved how, you know, fast it can work when you just like, yeah, I love that. I really love that. And one of the things, I mean, a lot of us have through our upbringing been brought up to be people pleasers, right?
Yes.
For parents, school, work, like that's, you need to, we want you to do this, you need to do this. So you get into this habit of being a people pleaser. And so when you're a people pleaser, you're not focused inside, you're always focused outside. So quite often you're just, okay, you want that? Yeah, I'm going there. Okay, you want, okay, I'm good. And what you want doesn't really matter.
Mm.
It's a shift for people pleasers to all of a sudden just be like, well, what do I want? Like, yeah, that would be really nice. You know, I really like that title. Yeah, it doesn't matter what people think.
Yeah, I think that
I know.
it also brings into play that knowing what you want part. Like if you're pleasing and you're doing that all the time, you lose that place of wanting for yourself. It takes a minute for you to think about that. And that's maybe part of the response too.
And it doesn't have you focusing outside. So if like, I want that bill paid. And I'm not saying if people want to do it that way, that's totally up to them. I just think there's a lot of power to be had in reconsidering how, you know, and making it about us. You know, I want that bill paid. That bill's not paid. I want that bill paid. So the balance of that bill is zero. Could work. Hasn't worked for me before, but it could work. But that's focused outside. So if I'm, oh, you know what? I have more money than I know what to do with. Or I love having them in a credit balance all the time.
Yes.
Like that is, yeah, that feels great. Me wanting this bill paid. Well, I don't know, how am I going to get the money? Where's the money going to come from? You know, what if it's not on time? What if I don't have it on time? And so along with faith, I've got all these other sort of facts that I have to deal with. Whereas, I love having my bills in a credit balance. And I actually did that one. And that was successful with that. Just like, I love having them in a credit balance. And they were.
Yes.
What was really funny about it is I owed a lot. I had went through some stuff at one point and I owed quite a bit on my phone bill. And I just didn't have the money and I was still learning how to do everything, right? And then I finally said, you know, okay, well, what's an end that I can sort of deal with? Because I had tried, you know, my balance is zero and that sort of thing. And that really hadn't worked for me, right? The interest just kept going up. And I'm like, you know what? I love that my bills are in a credit balance. And I didn't check it for a month or two. And then I went back in and checked. And there was there was no payment shown, but the bill between the 1 month and the other month was a difference that put me in a credit place in that bill. But I couldn't find where it didn't show up that this credit was made onto the account. You know, that this payment was made on the account to put me in a credit balance. There was like this payment that was lost, but made that I couldn't identify. But it
Cool.
In a credit balance.
Cool.
That was because, and I didn't even realize it until I went back and looked at the bill, right? And I'm like, oh, well, I didn't, you know, I was trying to figure it out and I couldn't figure it out. It just was in a credit balance. I'm like, yes, cool. That's what I wanted. And it has ever since.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason that happens is because it's like you said, if you end up focusing on what you don't want. It's like right now, there's a few things I want to change about the house and I get kind of feeling like, oh, I gotta do all that work, gotta change that. So I've been doing more of a practice of just feeling it all done.
Well, how
And
does it feel to have
yeah,
it all done?
and feeling
Not
good.
that
No,
it's
yeah, like I'll feel
like,
better.
how would that feel when your house is totally as you want it to be?
Yes, yes.
Cool.
And then the process of doing it is just basically like we've talked about
Well, you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah,
You don't
right,
know
you
what
don't.
the bridge of incidence is.
But what I was going to say
till
is
you
you
get
pay
there.
attention. If you're planning too much, you pay attention to the smaller details, you'll get taken out of that feeling it in its completion. And then you get caught up in the actual task at hand too much, where it's
Right.
almost like overwhelming or whatever, right? Or
So you're
and
always, I mean, with no matter what you decide to use, you're always, if you get taken out, if the oranges come up, no, I don't think that way anymore. This is how I think. Can you go back?
yeah,
You were. It's just that if you can stay in the, you know what? I love my balances being, I love my bills being in a credit balance. And like I maybe said it once, twice, and actually forgot about it until I went and checked it on in those 2 months, right? And I'm like, whoa,
yeah,
what happened here? And it was simply because I was focused on what I want. And so whenever, the balance would come up and this is your month's what you owe or whatever, I'm like, I love my bills being in a credit balance. And because it's love is the energy creates, and what you give attention to is what you love. So no matter what comes at you, what do you love? That, or is it what you want to feel? So
yes.
it's not about any of those things. It's about what you feel. How would you feel if your bills were in a credit balance? Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah, I'd like that. I'd really like that.
And it also forces you to sit with yourself longer to respond to those, like we were saying, if you're very out there, you have to be seated in your own self thinking about what I want. Well, I want my bills paid. I don't, like, you can get taken off with all the fear talk. Oh, I need that. And like it.
Well, and the other thing is with I want my bills paid is it's very easy to fall into the hole of fixing. So for me anyways, it was. And that's why
Right. Yeah.
use that. What can I use? I'm like, wow, credit would be kind of cool because then I could miss a month and I wouldn't have to worry about it if I didn't want to. So I chose the credit thing because that really is how I would like my bills to be, from here on in, as opposed to this one just paid. It was kind of setting up, what if my bills are always in a credit? Sets me up for the rest. Whereas I'm not putting out this fire to then put out another fire
yes
month. No, because that's my bills are paid, or my bills are always in a credit balance. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and being committed to yourself and thinking about your wants and staying focused on what you want rather than, well, it also frees up, I feel like it's like if you're not doing that, you're actually you're attracting all those things. So if you're always saying to yourself, I don't have enough money to pay my bills, then that's what's going to manifest. So you're totally, and most, I would say a lot of people maybe manifest the idea that, or think about the idea that they'd like to have endless money, for instance. And they're always focused on, I just want endless money. And I always say, well, why don't you just think about and go about your life as if you do have that endless money, because it is endless.
From your mindset.
From your mindset.
Yeah.
And start living your life as if that was so, like, I know it sounds silly, but you could even start looking at houses that you wanted to buy. Even though.
Well, and I wouldn't even, if saying that example, like I wouldn't even make it about money. How would it feel living in that house or having your own house that's perfect? How would that
Yeah.
feel? Oh yeah.
And knowing exactly what you want too.
Yeah, because the minute when you, to me, it seems like you would have less of the inner conversation. You'd still have to bring yourself back. The oranges may still come up, but I think there would be less inner conversation about
Why is my head keep
created the fact in the first place. So like using an SP, for example, you know, if my SP does this, okay, my SP does this. Oh, but they just blocked me. They told me they don't really want to talk to me. Oh, I'm so sad now. They don't, why are they blocking me? Like you get those kinds of conversations and those oranges thrown up at you. Whereas I don't think you would have as many oranges thrown up if you're, you know, become convicted in the fact that I love being in a relationship with my SP. Like, it's just really great. I feel really good. I feel great there. Nothing about them. It's, I feel good. And I think we talked about this before. I was mentioning that we need to do a show about this. People outside of you respond to you. You don't respond to them. And we tend to have a tendency to get caught up in the responding to them.
Yes.
I want to do this. They said they
Yes.
do this. It's not about that. What do you
I think
what do you love?
yeah. I think that's the shift.
I love when we get together, when we have
Yeah.
conversations, when we go out to dinner. That's the stuff that I love. And so they don't change, you change, and they respond to that change.
Mm. So it's good to imagine, like, even if you're disagreeing in relationship, say, and you're apart or there's more space, it's really healthy for you to, I think, imagine loving parts of that, like even because if you're thinking about the love that you shared, um and thinking about, you know, oh, it was so fun when we were doing that and it was so great, and you're having those thoughts, you're not going into like a rabbit hole about who did what to who. That was when love was present in your life with that person, and then you're uplifting yourself into a state of love rather than thinking about why you're in these, because we're unity, we're all one, we're all in that. That's where you know, and maybe that person will respond to that place, like you're saying,
Well,
rather than if you try and send out a message that is like contra, or like it's like you're arbitrary, like you're on two different sides rather than communicating as if you're on one side.
right, the double-minded man gets nothing.
Yes.
And so the other thing that kind of occurred to me with all of this is, if I am loving something about myself, you know, I love when I feel this way. I love how I feel when we go out to dinner. I love how we feel when we're together. Then there's not really anything in the way of my imagination creating a way to have that happen. But if I, you know, I know my SP loves to have dinner with me. I know my SP loves to hang out with me, loves to text me. Then I can maybe accept that. But then there's that, well, I really didn't like the way he treated me the last time. Well, I really don't like being blocked. But he's blocked me. Am I wasting my time here? Like, am I acting like a fool here? And so that's double-minded. You're the double-minded man, because you don't, it's very easy to identify how I feel about something. Like, I feel great about that. But how can I identify how you feel about something? That's not my business how you feel about something. What's my business is how I feel about it,
Yes.
knowing that you will respond to that. So if I think you're, the most wonderful person in the world, which I do, you will respond to that. If I think you're a dumb person, then you will respond to that, and we will have those kinds of conversations, or you will, those kinds of actions and stuff will happen. So when you're focused on how you feel, there's a lot less room for, there's no room for questioning. You may still have those thoughts that come up, but he blocked you, so it doesn't really matter how you feel. No, that's focusing outside. I still love, regardless of what happens. I don't care if he blocked me. I still love spending time with him. Even if I don't spend a minute with him, I love spending time with him. Like none of it matters. And that's how, Neville talks about facts don't matter.
Yeah.
And this is what he means. It's like, it doesn't matter what's going on out there. That doesn't change that I love spending time with him, or driving in my truck, or I love whatever it is that you love. Whether you're doing it or not doesn't mean that you don't love it still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just that, like, this is just really, oh boy, this is really powerful, I think.
Well, I think it's powerful because it's simple, like we've talked about, and when it's presented in a way that you can understand, you have power both ways, what you want and don't want. Because I think there's a bias on that, you focus on.
I think the other way too, I want to say, the law is always working, and Neville and many others are, suggest that you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if you're doing something, one of the things that I was never comfortable with, and this is not a judgment, it's just for myself, I was never comfortable with, so-and-so does this, so-and-so's doing this. So I thought, oh, well, you know what? I wouldn't want anyone doing that to me, trying to do that to me. And so if I wouldn't want someone to do it to me, then there's going to be a rebound effect. How could that be? The law's always working. Even though your intention was love and it's your reality, the laws are still working. So when you bring it back to yourself, I love spending time with my SP. It's not harming anybody. You're just stating your obvious. And you may have a desire to be with them and be blocked in the works everywhere. But this is your power. That when you shift that inside, that feeling, I love, like that's what I love. I love spending time with my SP. Then they respond to that. And there's no rebound boomerang effect at all, because you're just loving the feeling of spending time with your SP. That's all you're guilty of.
Yeah.
Nothing to be guilty of. It's not like I say guilty, but I don't mean that you act guilty. But if you were going to be in a court of law, a judge, like, oh, you're guilty of loving spending time with your SP. Okay. Like, what can you do to that?
Right.
So,
yes.
I just thought that was cool.
Yeah.
That I could explain it so people could understand it and see the power of it.
Mm-hmm. So it's definitely powerful, because I've seen it. It happens with me all the time.
Well,
as soon as I get focused on what I don't want, then it all comes crashing down.
Yeah, and it can happen so fast,
really fast. Instantly.
Like I said with the friend with the right? It was like within minutes.
Yeah.
And all she did was like, oh, I really like that name.
Right.
Yeah. And within minutes she sees it on a truck. And that's like her specialty. It's kind of funny because she'll think things and then she'll see it written on a truck.
I know, right?
Weird things, like not weird, but things you.
I've had it happen too, where it's like I don't know, we're more tend to believe the bad stuff than the good stuff, right? Like when it's a really good thing, it's like, oh, that was just a coincidence. But when it was a bad thing, it was like, oh no, that happened because of this and that. And
Not
you know,
anymore. Not anymore.
no,
Taking full responsibility for everything.
yeah.
So. Okay, so that's all I wanted to mention. Is there anything you wanted to talk?
No, I'm good. That pretty much gave me my insight for the day.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, oh, I hope Jane wants to talk today because I want to get this on video because
Good, good.
really, really important and powerful to just let that sink in, bring it back. When you're talking
Yeah,
to yourself, bring it back to you, make it about you rather than anything outside. I mean, SP is just the example we use, but bills, banking, houses, like people, other people, make it about you. How would it feel, if whatever the case may be, it's like, and I like to use the word, I've started using the word, I love blah, 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 blah.
yes,
The creative energy.
yes.
I love when blah, 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 blah. I love when I'm able to blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
So, okay, cool. So let's stop it now. I don't know how long we are, but seems shorter than normal, which is good. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. If you have any questions or comments, please just leave them below. And we will see you again in a couple of days. See you,
Bye
Jane.
for now.
Bye.